Welcome to the Van Life Video 2. This is Bike Life with Rob. Before we get into things, I'd like to thank a few people and also cover what we went over already in the first video. I'd like to thank Rick, first of all, for talking my wife into selling our motorhome by showing his van so that we could in turn buy a van. And also I'd like to thank him for all his help on the van with suggestions and tips. I'd also like to thank Pat for all his help and tips, my neighbor Scott for his on-site help, and obviously my wife for agreeing to this so that we can start to live the van life at races, traveling, and other adventures. So a recap of what we've done so far. The electrical work has all been done. The seats have been installed for the children. I've put the rubber floor down. I've also put the insulation over the rubber floor so that it dampens the sound from the road. I've also put the vinyl, aka wood floor in. I've had a hitch put on so we can put the bikes on the back. I've also put the kill mat in the inside to make the van not sound like a tin can. We've added the super fan in the ceiling. I've also insulated the walls, which has been hugely beneficial, and I've put roof racks on the top and a ladder on the side. I had thought about not furring the walls out with wood and just using the studs in the van, but the levelness of it wouldn't have worked. This is almost the finished touch. There are a few more studs that I added in later. Another thing I've realized is the ceiling insulation needs to be held in until you get the ceiling panels in, or it'll fall on the floor. One thing I will mention with the van is that nothing is level and you can't use a level, so everything is custom made, including this rail I'm making for the bench. I'm using all Ryobi tools during my build. They work great. The 18-volt system is awesome. The interchangeable batteries makes it easy to use everything they have. This area is going to be our kitchen table and the master bed. To complete the master bed, I have to make a table that serves as the table and as a platform to support us while we sleep. So this is what I'm working on right now. To round the corners off, I use the roundness of the tape roll, and then I use my super jigsaw to cut the round corners, as you can see. I use painter's tape to keep the wood from splitting and splintering. Maybe I should wear a mask. I made sure to round all the corners. After I did that, I sanded the whole table around the edge, and then I added the real wood edging around the edges with the iron, and I didn't catch that on the video for some odd reason. Here I'm adding supports for the supports that go down to the floor of the table. Just want a little extra meat on there so I can get some bigger screws in to hold them in. The mosquitoes were terrible yet again, so here I am finishing up the beefy part of the table. These are the table supports, and we are not 100% sure if that's going to work, but we'll find out soon. Here's the finished table with the edging, with the stain, with the urethane. I actually made a last-minute decision to go with solar, so there's the panel, and here is our solar charge controller. We got an MPPT, the kid. Here's some other stuff that goes with it. I also got a battery charger, which is what that paper describes. I mounted the solar panel on the roof racks, as you can see. I actually put a little bit of a cushion underneath each corner before I tightened it down, which is what I'm doing right now. I also installed a little extra protection to kind of clamp the solar panel together on either side so it doesn't move. I don't think it will move, but just in case. Then I added some weather stripping into the open gaps so that we don't get the wind noise or the whistle noise. And then I added the caps with a little bit of Loctite so they don't fall out onto the end of the roof rails. Here are the kayak racks that I assembled. I haven't put those on the van yet. I'm not sure we're going to use those this year as we're going further and further and closer to snow season. Here I'm installing a vent for the electrical box, which houses almost everything. My hole saw didn't work because the bit was bent, so I had to use the jigsaw, which ended up working out perfectly fine. I then used Rust-Oleum to cover the exposed edges before I installed the vent, and then also figured out where I wanted the shore power, and then I marked that and cut that open in the same way I did the vent. Now it was time to pre-drill holes for the vent. So I actually just drilled the main hole and then I marked the rest and then pre-drilled. And then I put butyl tape around that was left over from the fan to help seal that up, as you can see. And then I put the screws in and did the same process for the shore power. I added a little caulk in an area that I thought might get some water in it, and then after I did that I actually caulked around both of the openings, just, you know, a little extra peace of mind. Very happy with the way it turned out. Again, you can't use a level on the van because it could be leaning one way, forward or backward or side to side if you're not on perfectly level ground. So make sure you look at things a few times before you make it permanent. On to doing the inside of the electrical for the shore power. And for that we're going to need a box. So that's what I'm making now. A nice box to house almost all the electrical, everything but the solar charge controller. I used wood glue on all my seams for the box, and then I used my pass load finish nailer to just get some trim nails in there, and I was going to screw it, but the dang thing actually is pretty sturdy, so I just went ahead with the trim nails and finished up my box. And then I was playing some nice music and the hot wife came out and did some dance moves, and then I did a little butt grab and then I got a kiss. It was kind of nice. It was now time to make the hole for the shore power to come through and the vent, and I had to trim the back side of the box because everything in this van is crazy. You got angles everywhere. And then it was trying to maneuver the box with all of these wires coming through it. I found some hardware at the store to work for the door of the electrical box cabinet, and quickly realized that it was easier for me to be more precise and chisel out the spots for the door hardware to fit in the door. Screwing them in nicely. I used the template that came with the hardware to mark where they went on the box so that they matched on the box and the door. I then also installed the latch system so that the door will stay closed. You don't want it swinging open while you're driving down the road, and it latches nicely. Now that we have a box, we want to make sure the batteries don't move around, so we secure them to the floor with some brackets and a rubber strap. We also put the fuse box in, the inverter in, the battery charger, and the shore power electrical box, which is what I'm working on right here. Getting it buttoned up. I'm also going to put a electrical box on the front of the door, as well as the switch to turn the inverter on so I don't have to open the box. Here, here I am putting the finishing touches on the shore power box. Now it's time to start connecting wires to the fuse box, and I used heat shrink wire connections, so that, you know, once you heat them and shrink them on there, they're not going anywhere. I use my big flaming torch there, and then you just connect them on. Pretty easy to do, nice, clean. I also had to get my big wires ready to connect the batteries, to connect the batteries to the inverter, to connect from the charger to the batteries, etc., etc. There's a lot of connections I needed. I did a lot of sitting and thinking, a lot of sitting and watching videos, so I actually have a lot of video where I end up just sitting and thinking and watching a video. Here I'm making a contraption to hold the isolator and the breakers that go with it. I needed yet another hole in the van to get the solar panel wires to the charge controller, so here I am drilling. Dropping the wires in so that we can connect them to the charge controller. And then I used zip ties to attach the wires to the roof rail so that they don't move around. And then inside the van I used some foam packaging material in certain areas to make sure all the wires don't rattle. They're all secured nicely. Then I brought the wires over, put them in, and connected them to the charge controller. And then we were about ready for solar power at this point. We finally decided on cabinet hardware, and so here I am cutting a template so that I can just set on each drawer just to be able to drill really fast where the holes are supposed to go, and it works beautifully. Thanks for watching Van Build Part 2. Be sure to share and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next Van Build video.